Brian Kerr was speaking after Liverpool's latest home defeat, 6 consecutive defeats now at Anfield, 1-0 against Fulham. I suppose when you look at where Fulham are, where they're positioned in the Premier League table, this isn't a game that Liverpool should have been losing.
No, but on the other side of that, Stephen, their current form since 2021 started would have them in the bottom 4 in the league, given the amount of points. I think it's only 10 points from 11 games in the Premier League. So while you would say you wouldn't expect Fulham, who are in the bottom 3, to beat Liverpool, the champions, on recent form and displays, it isn't a big surprise. Fulham have been playing very well. They lost to Tottenham on Thursday night, 1-0. They were a bit unlucky. They were lucky to get in at half time, only 1 down to Spurs, but they played very well in the second half. They had that goal disallowed by Majid that was unfortunate. And prior to that, they'd gone 5 games unbeaten in the Premier League. They'd won a couple, they'd drawn 3. And they'd shown themselves a decent side for a good while now. They hadn't been getting the results, probably the performances deserved. They'd only won 4 games before today, a lot of draws, but they've played well. So Liverpool haven't been playing well, but it's a bad position for Liverpool to be in, once again, losing at Anfield. It's not the same. There's no crowds the game. There's no the passion, the volatility, the intimidation of the opposition. There's none of that now at Liverpool at the moment, but it's still an extraordinary statistic that they've lost 6 games in a row at Anfield.
Yeah, and Fulham should be credited for their performance. As I mentioned in the commentary, they've kept 5 clean sheets now in 7 matches. You know, they've got really good centre-backs there in Adarabioyo and Anderson beside him. And, of course, then you've got Lamina playing in front of them as well. And as well as that, you've just got players who are decent full-backs as well, players coming back and helping out with the defensive effort. It just seems with Liverpool now, when you watch them in games, that if you plug up that central area and force them out wide, they seem to struggle.
I think there's a lot of things wrong with Liverpool at the moment. If you take it from the back, the goalkeeper hasn't been his reliable self. You would have said he was the best goalkeeper in the world, or in the top 3 goalkeepers in the world until fairly recently. And then he's had a few disasters, a fault in goals against Manchester City in particular. You probably felt today he was a fault in the goal. I think you were being a bit harsh, and it was great accuracy in the shot from Lamina. It was right low into the corner. He was covering the near side because the free kick had come to the near post, near side. Robertson headed it away. But I think you take the defence, we know about their injury problems, constant changes. We're up to partnership number 21 today in terms of the centre-back partnership, which is really is extraordinary in the season, where they've had to keep changing the centre-backs because of injuries. But they haven't looked solid defensively. The midfield hasn't played with the same intensity as it has. The midfield has also been changed because Henderson and Fabinho, who have been needed at the back, because the other centre-halves who filled in for the regulars weren't reliable. So it hasn't been good in there. And the front 3 have been misfiring, haven't been shown the levels they've shown for the last 3 years, and Jota has been out injured until this week. So there's no area of the pitch has performed. You know, go back to your point about give them the width, let them cross it, and if we deal with that, we won't have a problem. That was one of the areas where Liverpool were so potent, I would say, in recent years. The crossing and delivery from Andy Robertson and Alexander-Arnold on the right hand side. Now that has declined to a great degree as well. We've not seen the same quality in the deliveries. They've had to defend a bit more. Other teams have learned how to exploit the space in behind the two of them. And today we saw, young Neco Williams playing in the right back position, nowhere near as effective as Alexander-Arnold. Had loads of the ball in the match, couple of half decent crosses, but not enough. I'm sure I would say he had 30 to 40 opportunities to cross the ball in the match. I'd say if he got 3 good ones in, was about as much as he did. So, front 3 not firing. Salah, good, decent enough threat in the first half, but faded as it went on. Jota didn't really get going, I would say. Shaqiri bits and pieces, and brought on Mane, and he looked like his confidence is strained too. So there's no area of the team is functioning well at the moment, Stephen.
How much criticism, and it is hard to criticise a manager like Jurgen Klopp, who's achieved so much in the game and who was really, he turned Liverpool Football Club around from where they were when he came in there, and he's won the Champions League, he's won the Premier League. He doesn't really have anything to prove to anybody, but how much criticism does he get for the team selection today? Because he had a back four there with 3 players there who haven't even reached double figures in Premier League appearances between the 3 of them so far this season. Was that a mistake?
Well, we'll have to hear what he has to say after the game today into justifying that selection. There may have been, I'd say there was definitely an eye on the game on Wednesday, RB Leipzig, where they won the first leg 2-0, and I think they're playing the same venue this week that they played the first match in. I think it's imperative that they get through to keep the season going at this stage for them. That's the reality of it. They're out of the cup competitions. Champions League is the only trophy that they're in contention in. But I think if that was the decision that he made, to put out a weakened team today to preserve players for Wednesday, I don't think that was the right decision, because I think you've got to keep going when you still had 11 matches left, 33 points at stake. There's still every opportunity for them, Liverpool, to make the top 4 and the Champions League spot for next year on the league form. But that results today damages that the potential for that. And it's not just that they're a few points behind the 4th place team, Chelsea, I think it is at the moment.
Yeah.
There's also a situation where you've got other teams. You've got Everton and Leicester and Manchester United. You've got West Ham up there as well. Aston Villa not too far away. You've got a lot of other teams
who don't have European games either.
No, and who have their eye on that prize. So it's it didn't work out for them today. He is probably going to have to answer some questions as to why he picked the 3 young defenders that he did. Ultimately, was that the problem? No, but it contributed in that there was consistent problem in the first half, and really Fulham made the more obvious opportunities in the first half. Liverpool had a couple of half chances, but their best attempt was probably Shaqiri's strike from the free kick, whereas Fulham had lots of chances where Lookman got in around the back on the left hand side, cut the ball back across the goal, and no finish came from it. So it was a bad day for Liverpool, and certainly Klopp will be asked you would hope, more analytical questions than the general run of the mill stuff. I think he needs to be asked, why did he play the team he did, and was it with both eyes on the prize of winning against Leipzig rather than winning today.
Leipzig went top of the Bundesliga for a short time yesterday before Bayern Munich beat Dortmund in the big clash in Germany. Do you think Julian Nagelsmann, obviously boosted by that win at the weekend, but also watching Fulham beating Liverpool at Anfield, do you think him and his squad now are going to be really gunning for this game? And do you think there's a danger that Liverpool could be knocked out of the Champions League despite having a 2-0 lead?
Well, I think Liverpool were deserved winners in the first leg. They played well on the night, and I think they deserved to win the game 2-0. Leipzig, I think Liverpool tactically dealt with them very well. Defensively were solid, and showed that Leipzig aren't all they were made out to be. Last year they looked a very inventive attacking team, playing different systems. You couldn't predict what the shape of the team would be, whether it be 3 at the back, 3-4-3. Generally they play it, but sometimes they played it with a forward at the back, but the 2 full backs pushed on anyway. Angelino on the right hand side, particularly dangerous, but struggled for a centre forward, a real centre forward. Poulsen isn't a prolific centre forward by any means, and dependence on Angelino and Mukiele getting forward on the flanks, but no real goal scorer. And I think Liverpool exploited that. So, but I think Leipzig and Nagelsmann will look at it and say, this is an opportunity. We get the first goal. How will Liverpool react? I think if they get the first goal in the match, Liverpool are quite capable of reacting badly. They have to be nervous. Their confidence has to be drained. There's no area of the team functioning particularly well. And, I think that's got to be the main point for Leipzig. Get the first goal and play from there. From Liverpool's point of view, it's the same for them. They need to score the first goal and hopefully put the tie to bed, play in the counter-attack, allow Leipzig to come on to them from that position. But if they allow Leipzig to come on to them at 2-0 and Leipzig get the first goal in the match, go back to 2-1, you would almost fear for Liverpool in their current position.
Just to ask you finally, Brian, as a former international manager, you'd know the inner workings of FIFA and fixtures and all that kind of stuff for qualifiers. And obviously there's been the news that the South American qualifiers won't be played this month now because of concerns over, clubs are having concerns over players coming back and having to quarantine for 10 days, and that puts them out of action then. Whether you think that was the right decision, and whether you think that perhaps now that needs to be, that all of the federations, UEFA and the rest of them, need to come in and do the same thing. I'm sure it's a headache for Stephen Kenny, the Republic of Ireland manager, who's trying to put together a successful qualification series for the World Cup. But what's your whole general thinking on what's going on?
I would surmise what maybe happened with the South American countries, that the likes of Argentina and Brazil and maybe Uruguay, possibly likes of Chile either, that the stronger countries in South America would have the power at the table of that confederate, right? And that they would be the ones that would have the most players playing outside their countries and the furthest distance, that the majority of their players are playing in Europe. We see plenty of them as it is playing in the Premier League as it stands at the moment, but they're also in Germany, Spain, France, Italy, the main leagues in there. So they would have the most to lose from a situation where their players couldn't travel and they would have to use more South American based players. So I think that influence probably had an influence on the decision that was made to postpone the games. Could the same thing happen in the European countries? I think the situation is developing day by day, week by week, and we'll have to wait and see what happens. But certainly if FIFA has given the clubs a dispensation that they don't have to release their players. I mean, always the power that you had as an international manager. I remember going back in my own situation, the power of being able to implement the rule that said that you're entitled to have the players 5 days before the international was a strong one. I mean, we were only dealing with English clubs generally, the occasional Scottish club. You never wanted to be implementing the rules. You never wanted to be telling the clubs this is the way it was. But they knew the rules and you knew the rules. And we operated and cooperated with, even when it came to friendly games, you would have a cooperation there, an understanding of their position. But I think in this situation, the club has gone to the power. The power has gone to the clubs now, and they won't have to release the players. So it'd be interesting what happens. Obviously, we're due to travel to Serbia for the first game. Second game at home to Luxembourg might be less of an issue, but it'll be interesting to see how it goes. But as I said, it seems like FIFA are being subjected to a lot of pressure from the clubs, and are kind of backing down in the face of that pressure to agree. And you can understand that, as I saw somebody say during the week. But remember, we pay the players' wages. And that is a very strong card that clubs can play.